My name is Sydney. I'm from California, the United States. And I first came to work with the plants in Peru in 2015. And I didn't start at Dos Mundos, but this path did lead me to Dos Mundos. Um, but working with the plants for the last 9 years has very much so helped me in changing my life, my emotional states, my physical states, which of course are all interconnected. Um, I was recommended to see Pepe for the first time in 2015 when I was dealing with a lot of hip pain after I had pulled my hip in a bad way and it just wasn't recovering right. And I'd done diets with another person outside of Tarapoto, and the whole time I was just distracted by this pain in my hip. And he told me about Pepe and Dos Mundos, as well as other people had been telling me. So, okay, I listened. And at that time, Pepe was seeing people in Tarapoto. And so I went one morning at like 5 o'clock in the morning and stood in line, and it was a whole day ordeal, and got in to see him. And boy, the alignment that he did on me, I cried and screamed for the whole hour. I think I saw him twice during that month, and afterwards there was no more hip pain. And I decided to take one of his diets home to California with me, and I did a semi-dieta in California, which was wonderful. I wasn't very disciplined at that time with my diet, so having a semi-dieta, having a plant to drink, and following restrictions was really good for me. And this plant did a lot of wonderful things. Chuchuwasi, Kumaseba, Murori. And well, then I returned to Peru in 2017, knowing that I would come back to Dos Mundos and do a full diet here. I had come here for one night in 2015 and visited this place and drank ayahuasca here and stayed for one night. And I just knew that I was coming back. And finally I did, but it was funny because there were parts inside of me that were not wanting to come back. And so there was this little bit of a play happening there where consciously aware Sydney knew that I was coming here to drink plants, to develop more and release more, drink the ayahuascas of Dos Mundos, which are different than other places. Sorry, I keep wanting to speak in Spanish. And lost my train of thought. And so there was this part of me that rented an apartment in Tarapoto and was like, no, I stay in Tarapoto. I'll just go to Dos Mundos to do diets. But then there was this other side. It was a real battle on the inside. And I would come here and I'd do a diet, and I'd always have something trying to pull me back, trying to pull me out of here. And I know it was just all of the hooks that I was dealing with, the addictions. I was a smoker at the time. I was also just addicted to being a victim. It was my identity. It was my story. It was what I told everybody. Oh, look at how this life has victimized me. And here at Dos Mundos, they really don't cater to the victim at all. You start telling your sad story and you realize that people don't really respond. They don't They don't cuddle you. They don't, you know, oh, tell me more. Because they know that this is just a chip of some sort, a cucaracha, as we call them. A way that the ego knows how to gain attention. And that's how I gained attention, was by being a victim, victimized by my life. But I also knew I had this conscious part of me, consciously aware part of me, that knew that this identity, that these stories were not serving me anymore. And so I became more, let's see, I got more involved with the ayahuascas here. When you drink ayahuasca at Dos Mundos, it's not ayahuasca with chacruna, where you have lots of visuals and you kind of go skyrocketing off somewhere. For me, the ayahuascas here are all about limpieza, cleaning, and cleaning out the cucarachas. And during my ceremonies, I will feel all of my parts gaining strength. My mind becomes really active. All the parts in me that I'm really working on taming, they all come up kind of fierce. And at first this was very unsettling to me, but then I realized after the sessions that everything was much quieter. And so then I would drink another one and they'd all come up. And boy, and I would be purging and drinking the water and purging and drinking the water and purging, and it feels like a monster is inside. And then and you feel like, oh, I can't handle this, you know? And then it's over and you're like, oh my God, it's such a night and day difference. And little by little, I began working with the different parts, different programs that I've been living with my whole life. So during 2017, I did 3 diets. Uchusnango and Ahosacha was 1 diet, and Ohe and Chiricsanango. And Chirik for me was very powerful and moved a lot of emotions. And it affected me for a long time, this diet. And at first I was very confused as to what was happening. And then finally I got the message. This is the plant. She's still working. Surrender. Quit trying to control how the outcome is. Quit trying to label it as bad or wrong. What's coming up needs to come up. And you need to let it come up. Quit stuffing it back down. Once I surrendered to this process, the release came very quickly, and I started to recuperate and feel better. And during this time after, I was in California for 5 years. I had left here in 2017 just to go to a birthday party at my grandma's. I was like, I'll be gone for 2 months. But the universe kept me away for 5 years. And a lot happened during those 5 years. And a lot of work that I needed to do on myself happened during those 5 years. Work like giving up those addictions. I realized I couldn't give up those addictions here. I needed to give them up in the places where I was triggered the most. I needed to reprogram in my head for myself what is actually going on when I smoke a cigarette or when I smoke a joint, instead of believing the lie that the substance was telling me, the addiction was telling me. And then I had a moment, an experience that changed my life, and that was that my house burned down in a wildfire. And that sent my whole nervous system in a fallen state. First, I was completely anxious all the time. Couldn't sleep, like I was on constant adrenaline. And then the complete opposite. I was tired all the time. This is very typical when somebody goes through a traumatic event like that, where their adrenaline soars and then crashes. But my system couldn't regulate afterwards. And so finally I made my way back to Dos Mundos. I was also dealing with chronic pain at this time. And the pain was also from a shoulder injury from working. And then I was doing too much lifting. And then when my house burned down and my nervous system collapsed, then the pain just got 10 times worse. And doctors were telling me, that I was crazy, that it was all in my head. And this was a whole process. And I finally made it back to Dos Mundos. And within 3 ayahuascas, I drank 3 in 1 week, 1 every other day, and all my pain was gone. Of course, I still had, when I moved my arm a certain way, ouch, that hurts, because there was still dysfunction happening in my shoulder. But now ayahuasca was really working with my nervous system and rebalancing my system so that I wasn't in constant hypertension mode anymore. My body could relax. My body could relax. My shoulders could relax. My body could heal. And then after about, I think 8 ayahuascas is when I began my diet again. And more the pain subsided. More and more the energy was returning back to my body. And just after the diets of Ojo and Uchusanango Ahosacha, after those diets, I was feeling much better. Not 100%, but still much better. But it's not just the nervous system that ayahuasca is working with. Yes, it's working on a physical level, but it was also working on a level. It was also working on a spiritual level, on a psychological level as well, showing me where I was holding on to this pain because it was serving me. It was serving me to be in pain. And again, this victim personality of mine had come up. And this victim just really doesn't serve at all. There's no getting rid of it. Don't worry about it. And so a lot of what I'm doing here now, I've been here for almost 2 years now since I came back, is working on these programs that have served me throughout my life, but really don't serve me anymore. They served me in dysfunctional ways. I would get attention for being a victim. But then also people were repulsed by me because I was a victim. And I don't blame them. And I would say for the first time in my life, which my whole life I was really battling with anxiety and complex traumas from childhood. And now, after working with ayahuasca and certain plants as well, I've also, in the last 2 years, dieted with sarsa, toe, and ayahuasca cruda. And I have more diets about to come, which is great, because I just want to keep bringing this stuff up to the surface and keep working on it. For me, I also do tapping, and I'm a tapping practitioner, and integrating with ayahuasca, tapping into this process has really been helping. And when I say tapping, I mean emotional freedom technique. When you're working with ayahuasca, it can be a little confusing sometimes what comes up, and it's okay. A lot of times, we're programmed to want to control everything, and everything is fine, and when something confuses us, it throws us off. And I've really been mastering the art of, ooh, this confuses me. Ooh, what is this? How deep can I go into this? Where is this going to take me? What can I learn from this? How can I grow from this? And that's what has been my work for the last 2 years here. So now I'm here, and I don't require so many ayahuascas anymore. I have one if I feel alterated. I've been working with people that go on to diet, and when you're on diet, things get intense. Things are coming up. You're dealing with food restriction, and that brings up a lot of fear and a lot of doubts and a lot of worry, because we have a lot of programs around food and nutrition and what's good for us and what's bad for us. And I went through all of this during my diets, and it's a very interesting process, serving food to people who are very hungry. And I'm not talking about people who are, going hungry, starving. We're talking about people that are on plant diets. The less food you eat on a plant diet, the better the plant works. And mind you, we don't make people, like especially older people that need more food, more nutrition. We're definitely conscious of the fact of what this person needs, But a lot of times it's the mind that's at play there, or old programming about, with fear-based themes. And so working in the kitchen, you tend to receive a lot of energy that sometimes is manipulative. Sometimes people will be very angry with me, upset with me, because I'm only giving them so much food. And sometimes they'll be overly nice to me. Maybe I'll give them some more food if they're nicer to me. It doesn't matter. I have to follow the instructions, not of them, but of others. But anyway, for me, this was a learning process, because for my whole childhood, I absorbed the energy of those around me. I thought I was responsible for how everybody felt, that I caused how they felt. So for me, working in this kitchen and having all of this thrown at me and really kind of reinforcing my energy, my aura, to sort of be compassionate with them, yes, but also have my limits and my boundaries, and to really reinforce not being so affected by people's energy. This was a big working for me. And I worked in that kitchen for about 10 months in that position. And some days were great and some days were really hard. And as I feel now, I feel like I'm really able to know what's mine and what's theirs, as well as I'm really able to work with parts of me that would come out when feeling threatened. It's a really interesting study, but anyway, that's a whole other theme. And it just happened the other day where somebody was really egging me on, and it was bringing out a part of me that is a protective part. That is a protective part. Protects my inner child, you know, who was traumatized as a kid. And I was really able to sit with it, not let it overwhelm me. And this is all due to, you know, what I've been learning here. Learning and working in a kitchen, you know. Learning, doing the diets, drinking ayahuascas. There's this real calmness and stability inside of me that I've never known before. So I am grateful to Dos Mundos for all of this. And I want to help people realize that they too can find these states of stability and calmness inside of them. Sometimes you have to let the stuff come to the surface and it's super uncomfortable. But once it's in the surface, it's not buried anymore and you can work with it at that level, you know? So once it's at the surface, you work with it. You get to know it. You say, hi, I see you, I love you. But let's transform this now. And that's where ayahuasca really, really helps. And that's where being in a place like Dos Mundos really helps. You're not distracted by the outside world. You're able to focus on yourself. You're able to conserve your energy for the plants. And do this work that really is going, it really affects the whole planet. When we work on ourselves, it really affects the whole planet. Thank you for listening to my story.